Well, we're here in Chalvington, or Chanton as would be in dialect. Somewhere up there amongst the mist, the sun is rising, and once again we're all talking about listed buildings all over the place here, although there you go, see, I always try and bring you a sunrise, and there's the sunrise. There's a nice old listed building. I know that is listed. Again, I'd refer you to British listed buildings. This is Lover's Barn, Lover's Farm. And there's Lover's Cottage. Not quite such an age to some of these buildings, but I'll go down the road a bit here. I can't leave the car here, so the church is just down the road here, so I'll go and take a look and see if there's anywhere I can realistically park up to look at the church. Well, I'm in probably what's the oldest part of the village now, and it's St Bartholomew's Church. So far I've not been able to turn up how old this is, but this has got to be earlier than the church at Ripe, I would have thought. 11th century maybe? Look at that wooden tower there. We're going to have a closer look in a minute, and then when I get home I'm going to do some more research. I'm sure that there is more information I can find out about it. But in the meantime we'll have a walk up here. There's War Memorial Gates, 1939, 1945. This was, I presume this was a rectory at one time, and the church had its own farm, which might have provided the vicar with a living, I don't know. But there's Church Farm, again that's a listed building. Not that I think any of this on the left hand side has got any age to it, but certainly the farmhouse has. And I'm not going to zoom in because I have to respect people's privacy at this time of the morning. This is interesting. It says there, the church room. And there's quite an old looking door on there. But it's a fairly modern building. So I'm wondering if it's been grafted on, as it were. I don't know if through this gate we can see. I wonder if that's the old vicarage through there. I'm going to walk down the lane in a minute and have a closer look at that building. But in the meantime, let's go and have a look around St Bartholomew's Church. A pheasant in the distance. There's a lot of noisy birds around here. I don't know how feasible it is to go in. Is there a... Oh yeah, they open outwards, right. That's unusual, you'd expect it to open inwards, wouldn't you? St Bartholomew's Church, Chanton or Chalvington. That's a nice... It looks like some nice stained glass there, and that is certainly of an age. Now let's go and have a look, shall we? These gravestones are so old here. What a lovely view though, look, across the South Downs. In loving memory of Rose Henry Painter, September, I can't see that, it's 18 something. It's obviously some subsidence here. It's Millennium Bench. I have to be careful with this camera, mustn't pan round too fast. Look at this, this is so old. And the tower, that is so unusual, a wooden tower. And again more of these wrangles rather than actual stained glass seams. Hello? Have you come to say hello? I heard this clod behind me. I don't suppose you often get to see people here, do you, eh? How are you this morning? You alright? Your friend over there seems to be enjoying the grass. Look, you can see where the horses, they lean over and eat that grass because it's obviously nice, and they've cut the grass. It's much less grass there than anywhere else. In loving memory of Sub-Lieutenant Trevor Bailey, lost in HMS Martin, November the 10th, 1942. Is that good, eh? Is that good? It is, isn't it? I bet you're enjoying that, aren't you? And actually, thank you for bringing me up here, because that means I can see through there towards another one of the listed buildings. Not sure which one that is, but rather nice. Oh, you have to leave you, so I'll say cheerio. There, see? The things I bring you at o'clock on a Saturday morning. Right. Sadly, I suppose this church suffers from unwanted visitors as much as anybody else, anywhere else. One wonders if that's a Norman arch there. It certainly looks as though it probably could be. I'm going to Bernie mark the mesh if I can't Bernie mark the door, although it opens. That gets me. I don't know if the church itself is open. I very much doubt it. Oh, it is. So, and the heating's on. Yeah, the heating's on. This is most unusual for me to gain access to a church at this time in the morning. But you see what I mean about this stained glass here. Lovely in here. And here's the font. Not sure what age the font is. I mean, that's '17th, 18th century, with probably a more modern top. They cater for the littlies here. And the lights are on. Oh no, it's not lights. There's stained sort of quarter-four type stuff up there. Wow. Don't know if I can try to get an angle on it. Look at that. Very rather difficult. It's low light, that's the problem. Wow, this is quite something, isn't it? It is still used for services. Some nice stained glass here. Probably lovely. Look at that. I am the resurrection and the life. (1812). And there's a little something in the corner there, presumably where the priest washes his hands or has the communion wine.
Well, it seems I wasn't so far out after all. That is what they call, and I think I'm pronouncing it right, a piscina. And that is indeed where the celebrant would keep the communion utensils, and he would certainly wash them in there, if nothing else.
(1897). It's one of the warmest churches I've been in. And smaller inside than you would have thought, isn't it? But lovely. This is rather interesting. I'm standing by the organ, but there's a wooden fresco sort of painting. Obviously the coat of arms of a family. I need to go and do some research here because there's obviously a lot of history to it, and more than I've been able to find so far. What have we got here? Let's have a little look, shall we? There is the church history here. That's while we're looking out of this. I'll stand here looking out of this window. This is apparently it's a miniature example of late 13th century.
I am, of course, talking about the church here, not the window. Sorry for any confusion, it's just where I'm standing. Yes, it does say they're 13th and 14th, but I've done a bit of research since recording this, and it turns out in 1872, when they were doing some renovations, they found some moulding fragments that they've dated back to the late 11th, beginning of the 12th century. So I might not have been so far out, but obviously it would have been another building completely, not what we see today. As for the font, well, I think I said it difficult to date. I can't remember what I said. It was but it has been supposedly dated back to the 14th or 15th century, but as you can see, it's been heavily restored, so you wouldn't know it just by looking. But I still think that the wooden top is probably later. I'd say that was probably 18th or 19th century, to be quite honest with you.
It says modern north porch, but I don't think that's it's a wooden shingle turret of the with the spire. That's 1609. So I said I thought that was 17th century. I think, didn't I? But it's not Norman. Just goes to show how you can be deceived by patterns, isn't it? Some of this glass dates back to the 14th and 15th centuries. So there you are. Not quite as old as I thought, but yes, 13th century. Very interesting, but nothing about the font. Sorry about that. I'm going to properly Bernie mark this door now. It is of an age. This is a really old door. Look at these studs here. And complete with graffiti in the walls. You see this? Some very ingenious stuff, to be honest. See, some of this in ancient times would have been the mason's marks, but not here. I don't think. This is just local kids, probably. But anyway, what a change to be able to actually get into a church. I couldn't believe the heating was on. Then I suppose perhaps it has to be, because otherwise the damp would get in and cause a lot of damage. It probably cost less to keep the heating on than it would to repair the damage. But anyway, an unexpectedly long visit to St Bartholomew's Church at Ripe.
Oh, the stupid boy I am. I mean, of course, the church at Chalvington, not Ripe. Well, I have been up since an early hour this morning.
And now we'll just take a quick walk down the road. Coming to the tail end of the visit now. Not masses to see, and I'm afraid I haven't been able to give you an awful lot of information, but I suppose if you like, I'm going back to how it all began for me, not wanting to give too much information, just taking a walk and sharing what I see. It's only in recent times that I've gone in for doing more in the way of research. I do wonder if this was the rectory at one time in here. It almost has the look of a schoolhouse about it, doesn't it? Don't know. Oh, a lovely bird song. I was right the first time. The old rectory. But then, of course, in those days, many years ago, things like the Vicar's House and the Rectoress, they would sometimes double up as a school. But yes, there we are, the old rectory. A lovely looking building, isn't it? And in the distance I can hear a train, which is a sign that civilization is waking up. And perhaps it's time I thought about going home. Not sure how much more there is I can find here. There's certainly nothing within close walking distance anymore. So we'll jump in the car and see what happens on the way home. Well, I just thought I'd add this bit of a postscript while I'm standing in a country lane. I've got another lovely shot of the sun coming through, shaded by the tree, or silhouetted, if you like, through the tree there. I can hear a car coming. I'm just looking at this. Some little trees growing through there, which look like oak trees. Always a good sign to me. I'm pretty sure I can hear tractors in the field over there. So the cow pasture is all there. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I feel as I shortchanged you a bit this morning. There wasn't as much in Chalvington as I thought there might be to see. I know it's only a small place. I did pass a few more buildings on the way down the road, but they were fairly modernish. There was another K6 telephone box. I probably missed, well, I obviously did miss the yew tree, which is supposedly the only pub left in this particular area, but I'm pretty sure that I passed it. I don't know if it's still open or not, or it may well be up the other road that I didn't go down. But anyway, that's the the ups and downs of making documentary films, isn't it?
The yew tree apparently is still very much alive and kicking, and as I just mused about, it's about a mile up that lane to the left of the first of the old lovers buildings that we looked at when we arrived here. I think there's 2 or 3 other listed buildings around the yew tree, but to be honest, I don't think we've missed an awful lot. The main part of Chalvington is, as I stayed in, it's around the church and the older buildings next to it, so hopefully you've seen enough maybe to encourage you to visit yourself.
The important thing is, I've been for a walk this morning, I've taken you with me, and getting to have a look inside that church was a bonus I hadn't bargained for, and it's filled in a lot of the time. But here I am, I'm in the South Downs now, heading back towards Berwick, and then on home for some breakfast. But there's some lovely typical English woodland trees all around me. Lots and lots of cow parsley, and of course you've got to be careful this time of year. Cow parsley can often be, or should I say giant hogweed can often be mistook for cow parsley. I don't think there's any hogweed in here. 1 or 2 of those barks look a little suspicious, but I think this is more or less all cow parsley. Lots of tall grasses. And to be honest with you, sometimes it's just nice to stand and look and listen. Probably a bit late now to catch owls going home from their hunting, but this is coming to the time of year now when owls actually will hunt by day, because they've got young that need feeding 24 hours a day, and there simply aren't enough hours of darkness in order for them to do a lot of their hunting. So you will, for a month or so I suppose, see the odd owl flying during the day. Always worth keeping your eyes out for it. I'm half hoping now one's going to go over, but I don't think it will somehow. Oh dear. I sounded just like my granddad then. I do miss that man. My granddad was a real Sussex country man, he was, honestly. So what he didn't know about anything, well, it wasn't worth learning, quite frankly. And I don't say that any disrespect to any of the rest of my family, my mum, my dad, my gran, or anyone like that, but I had a bit more of an affinity, I think, with my granddad than some other people. And yeah, I miss him. But there you go. I think it's time I got back in the car and headed back for breakfast now, otherwise I'm going to start remembering people and I'm going to start getting all emotional, and I find that all too easy these days. The grief never goes away, does it? However, I will bid you good morning because I got some fresh tomatoes and mushrooms that are calling out to me in my kitchen, so it's time I went back and had some breakfast, and I look forward to seeing you join me on my next walk around, where I might possibly have one or two surprises for you, but not necessarily in the way you might think.